Anyway, here we are with our first edition of our songwriting video series, and we're doing the QVid thing. That's quarantine video for those of you
Yeah, there you go.
who don't.
Boy, this is the new normal, Paul, isn't it?
This is the new normal. Yeah,
Still
yeah.
get still
So
getting used to it, but
exactly, exactly. I'm in the studio, and I'm Paul Gibbs, by the way, and Nate is actually in his house, and he's got this really cool. Can you see that, friends? A virtual background. That is really, really cool.
yeah,
And
I'm in my satellite studio, my music room at home, but
the
I have the
satellite, yeah,
the background blotted out there
we
with the Notespire logo. So
love
a
it.
little shameless plug there.
Yeah, why not? I mean, yeah. I mean, what shameless plug? Oh, I got to turn the coffee cup around. I mean, it's just a cup, but they're really cool cups. Anyway, all right. Well, hope you friends are doing well. We're glad to be with you again here by way of video, and things have changed a lot, but we need to keep going. We need
Yes.
to keep going, and we do apologize because it's been a while since we've added to this since we got this songwriting video series off the ground, but we really want to do that with this video, and we do promise to be a little more punctual with the second one, right, Nate? Yeah, with this,
Yeah, yeah.
but but things are going well here for us at the studio, and so we want to talk this time about some songwriting, some concepts, things that go into a song, things to leave out of a song,
Mm.
uh, different styles of songs, different genres, things like that. So we do hope that this will be a blessing to you, and we do encourage you right off the bat here, especially if you can't watch the whole video right now, to let us know your thoughts on
Mhm.
songwriting. And maybe you're a veteran songwriter. You've got some maybe things that we didn't include here, or maybe you're just getting started and you'd like some help with maybe a song that you're trying to write or that you just wrote. We would love to take a listen to that for you and maybe give you some tips on how to make that a little more effective, shall we say?
Polished, yeah.
Polished, impact, yeah. Or
Yeah.
maybe it's already awesome, and we'll tell you that. But anyway, all right, Nate. So where are we going to start with this?
Well, and we want to remind our viewers there's this is a huge subject. There's so
Yeah.
much we could talk about, and obviously this can't be exhaustive. It's not going to be an advanced tutorial in songwriting, but we want to cover the basics at least. And
Yeah.
some of this might be review for you guys, but it's always helpful to go over the basics. There's little things that we all miss, and that can
Mm.
help us to really hone our craft. And like Paul said, we want to, in this series, talk about the whole aspect of songwriting, but today we're really going to focus on song structure.
Structure. Yeah.
So there are some kind of basic song structures that are used in, I'll call them Western music, especially pop music,
Yeah.
both sacred and secular. And it doesn't mean that you're limited to these, but most songs that do well, either on the radio or corporately for worship, tend to stay within these structures,
Mm.
or at least it's a good place to start. The good thing is when you learn songwriting is you kind of learn the rules. You learn the basic music theory, and then once you know the rules, it's easy to know what to break to make your song kind of stand out or set apart. But
Right.
this
Right.
is where we want to get started with some
Yeah.
basic song structures for you guys.
Yeah. And one would be basically, I mean, we're going to give examples of songs like this first one we're going to touch on is just verse, chorus, verse, chorus.
Mhm.
Pretty simple. And songs like secular songs like California Girls by the Beach Boys,
Hmm.
Penny Lane by the Beatles, uh, That'll Be the Day, by Buddy Holly. That's another one. In sacred music, a worship song, Heart of Worship is one that basically they call it a 32 bar form. It's just a verse, then a chorus, second verse, and a chorus, and that's pretty
And that's it.
much pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is probably the most popular form of songs. I think both sacred
Oh,
and secular.
yeah.
Like you mentioned, the Heart of Worship. I mean, it's an older song, but I think everybody knows it really well. You know, the verse starts out, um, actually,
when the
yeah.
music plays, there you go.
Yeah, I was mixing that up with another song, but when the music plays and all is stripped away and I simply come. So that's your verse section. And then it leads into the chorus. I'm coming back to the heart of worship. And then
Hmm.
it goes back to a second verse and back to the chorus, usually repeating the chorus.
Yeah.
So you kind of have this back and forth feeling. And the verses kind of give information or explain what the song is about, and they lead you into the chorus, which usually the chorus is where you
Mhm.
have the song title sung or explained. So
Right.
that's where you're singing,
Right.
I'm coming back to the heart of worship. That's the song title. So
Yeah.
the verses are giving information, explaining, what is the heart of worship, how we fell away from it, how we're coming back to it. And then the chorus is kind of the ultimate part of
Yeah.
the song where you're really expressing that subject that you hear in the song title.
Right. Right. Or another way to put it, maybe the chorus is the basic theme of the song, the subject of the song, and the verses
Mhm.
are kind of the little variations on it, kind of the explaining it a little bit. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Another theme, another style would be the verse, and then maybe a bridge and another verse. Uh, yeah. Any examples of that?
Yeah, so for that one, I think of "Here I Am to Worship." So you
Yeah.
started out in the verse, "Light of the world, you step down into darkness." That's the verse, and
Hmm.
then that leads you into the chorus. So here I am to worship, here I am to bow down. That's your
Right.
chorus, and then eventually you get to this bridge section that sings, "And I'll never know how much it cost."
Hmm.
Sing that over and over again. Now, what sets
Yeah.
the bridge apart is sometimes the bridge will be different musically, like it might be a different chord structure, the melody might change.
Right.
Um, but the bridge, the reason that it's set apart is that it can't stand on its own. Usually at the end of the bridge, it doesn't resolve. You would not end the song on that bridge. It's going
Right.
to lead you back to something else.
Right.
That's
Right.
really the reason for calling it a bridge. It bridges from one section of the song to the other. In this case, it's going from the chorus back into the chorus. But
Right.
you have this
Right.
kind of like set apart section of the song, and again, it often adds more information that wasn't given in the verses,
Hmm.
but highlighting the main theme, which is in the chorus.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think let's cover this right now. That there is we're talking about different parts of the songs, like the intro, the outro. We're talking about verses. We're talking about choruses. We're talking about bridges. But let's
Hmm.
also touch on what a refrain is right at this point, because I
Yeah.
tell you that's always something that I've been a little bit fuzzy on. What is the refrain? And
Yeah.
according to this article, a line or maybe a few lines that repeat throughout the song. It's usually the title of the song, and it can be like I think of the hymn "Great Is Thy Faithfulness."
Right.
That's the title of the song,
Hmm.
and every chorus starts with that line, "Great is thy faithfulness, great
Hmm.
is thy faithfulness." That would be the refrain. You have anything else on what a refrain
Yeah.
really is?
I, you and I were kind of talking about this before we hit record. To me, when I think of great is thy faithfulness, I think of that section as the chorus
As
and
the
the rest of
chorus.
it being the verses. But yeah, when you look it up in the hymnal, it definitely says right there in black letters and
Yeah,
ink, refrain.
yeah,
And I don't know if that's just an older musical term. You
I
definitely see
think so.
refrain in the hymnals all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, I think we most people would say that that part of the song is the chorus, and
Yeah.
maybe just that the line "Great is thy faithfulness" would be the refrain. So I guess we'll just leave it kind of open-ended on what a refrain, but there is a difference, I think, between I think what we're establishing between the chorus and
Hmm.
the actual refrain. So
Yeah.
and I guess we'll just stop there on that. We don't get too caught up in the semantics of that, but
Yeah, we'll
but
have to study it a little bit more,
yeah,
but
we'll just touch base on that. Okay. So another strong structure would be just no bridge or no chorus at all. Just
yeah.
what we call the A, and on. They're just verse, verse, verse. And an example of that would be the praise chorus, "I love you, Lord,"
Hmm.
would be one. "Isn't He" is another one. Other examples,
Probably the most famous one would be Amazing Grace.
"Amazing Grace," right?
There's
Yes.
no kind of separate verse and chorus. It's all
No.
just one big chorus, I guess, being
Yeah.
sung. You know, the
Yeah.
words change, of course, each time you go through,
Yeah.
but it's just one section musically being repeated, you know, over and
Yes.
over. Yeah.
Christmas song, "Silent Night."
Yeah.
There's no chorus. It's just a series of verses.
Good
Yeah.
example. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's still room within that structure, that AAA structure, of changing your lyrics up. You mentioned like "I Love You, Lord," or another song like "We Exalt Thee." It's just a chorus that's kind of repeated, but often when you do that, you'll change from first person to third person.
Yeah.
Maybe like, you know, "I love you, Lord," and then the next time through you might sing "We love you,
"We
Lord."
love you, Lord." Right.
So, you know,
Right.
there is some room for variety there,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
musically, it's just the same section kind of repeated over and over again. And I remember reading in a songwriting book that if you do start writing a song and you find that you've written this structure where, well, I only have this one part, and where do I go from here? Maybe step back and say, it doesn't need to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
There are a lot of songs that have been very successful and that have stood the test of time, even through
Yeah.
Christianity, that have been passed down, that have just been a praise chorus, that whether it's in a hymnal or a modern praise chorus, that is sung over and over again.
That is true. And how many
That
times do we get caught in that trap? Not trap, but a pattern, if you will, of writing verse, chorus, verse, chorus.
Yeah.
And there might be some of us that would never think of writing a song without a chorus. But
Yeah.
why not? There's a lot of them that have been. You don't
Yeah.
always need a bridge in your song. I guess that's what we're trying to point out here. Different styles, and none of them are wrong. They're just different. Yeah. Nate,
Right.
how
Yeah.
about the style with this is something been very popular lately in worship music is the pre-chorus.
Yeah.
What is a
So like,
pre-chorus?
again, I never understood why that was a separate structure that's been set apart.
Yeah, yeah,
Why not include it with the chorus? But you're
yeah.
right. A lot of modern praise and worship songs include this. And the one that stood out to me was Matt Redman's "Blessed Be the Name."
Hmm.
That little, it's like a two-line pre-chorus, you know, "Every blessing you pour out, I'll turn back to
Yeah,
praise," and that
yeah.
leads you into "Blessed be the
The
name
name.
of the Lord," to the actual chorus proper.
Yeah,
And again, why they do that, I don't know.
yeah.
I guess in a way it's almost like a musical bridge, that,
It
you know,
is, isn't it? Yeah,
maybe there's something between getting from the verse into the chorus. Just musically, it's a nicer transition, and when you add lyrics to it, you know, you got to call it something structurally. So it's a
right.
pre-chorus. Yeah.
Yeah, and it almost and you could also think of it as it's it can be the pre-chorus bringing you to the chorus, or it's also kind of a way to end each verse.
Yeah.
It could be tagged onto the end of each verse, but either way you think about it, it does. It's bringing you from the verse. It's getting you ready for
Yeah.
that chorus.
And
So
again, it's something that doesn't really resolve. You would never end on that pre-chorus. It's leading you somewhere.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, right. Reading it somewhere. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Well, shall we talk about a hook?
Yeah. Let's talk about a
Yeah,
hook.
yeah,
I mean, most of you guys, if you have done songwriting for any length of time, you've heard about the infamous hook, right? That every
yeah.
song has to have a hook,
Got to
or
have a hook.
um, you want to have a hook if you want it to be successful.
Yeah.
So what exactly is a
What
hook?
is a hook? Yeah,
I don't know. There's probably a textbook definition for it,
yeah,
but to me, the hook is the thing that you walk away with stuck in your head.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's either part of the melody, it's a rhythm, it's a lyric, it's the thing that, you know, that's the reason they call it that. It hooks your attention and grabs you.
yeah.
It's the thing that brings that person back to that song again and again. It's that little earworm that gets stuck in your head.
Yeah, that's right.
And like I was saying, it could be a lyric, it could be a rhythm, it could be a melody in the vocal, it could be a
Yeah,
melody in one of the instruments in the background. Sometimes it's not something that's being sung.
Right.
In rap or hip hop, it's usually it could be a sample that's being repeated in the background, like a musical rhythm. Um, yeah, there's so many different ways to do it. Paul,
Yeah.
what's been your experience with hooks?
Well, it's again, I myself as a songwriter, not having formal training early on, the hook to me was like what we talked about refrain. It was that
Mm,
phrase that it maybe words with the melody and the way they were sung, they were repeated like they were the main topic of the song.
hmm
But and now I'm learning that no, the hook can be more than that. Well, uh, one of the a hit songwriter that I'd never heard his name, maybe you folks have, Clay Drayton, he said this: a fish knows the hook. Once it's in you, it's hard to get out.
See, there you go. It's that earworm. Seriously,
Yeah,
if you guys that are watching this, if you think of any song that you can't stop singing, or you find yourself humming, or it gets
yeah,
stuck in your head, whatever that part is, that is the hook. If you can do that for one of your songs, it's just
yeah,
another way to guarantee success with it, and just to make it a good song. You want something that's recognizable.
yeah.
It's usually a simple. Usually so simple,
It is.
and it
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
gets stuck in your head. It doesn't have to be intricate or difficult to play or perform or
yeah.
sing. It can just be a simple thing that just is so memorable that it doesn't leave you.
Jingles are
Oh yeah, there you go.
hooks.
The whole jingle is the hook, right?
The jingle is the hook. It may have a little part of it, maybe that last line of the 4 or 8 or whatever, but
Yeah.
that's the hook. So,
There you go.
um,
That's a good way to put it. The commercial hook. Yeah.
yeah, commercial hook. Um, the hook doesn't necessarily refer to a specific section of a song, except to say it is the catchiest part of the song. Most
Yes.
of the time, it'll be the chorus if there is one. Um, if the song doesn't have a chorus, or maybe even if it does, the hook most likely will be your refrain. Yeah. So,
Mm,
yeah, the hook it's again, if the no exact definition, can be different, can take different forms, but yeah, like Nate said, it's that part that grabs you. It's the one thing that you walk away humming, thinking, singing in your head. If you're like me, it stays in your head until something else comes along
right.
and knocks it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
usually another song or something. Yeah.
And
Anyway,
something I would suggest to our viewers, if you're having trouble, if you are a beginning songwriter and you're having trouble figuring out song structure, maybe you're hearing all these different parts of the song that Paul and I are talking about right now, and you're still thinking, well, how do I choose, or how do I put these together? What's
yeah,
the best structure for my song? Learn by example. Pick the songs that you
yeah,
love to sing already, or that you're already playing other
yeah.
artists' songs, and strip away the words and even the melody, and just look at the song. How does it start? Does it have an intro? Does it jump straight into the verse? Does it jump straight into the chorus? Is there a bridge? Is there a solo? Like,
Hmm.
map the thing out. Figure it out. Write it out on paper. How did they do it? And then use that as a template for your own songs. It's a great way to learn. You follow the model of the people who have already done it successfully, and
Right.
that's how you learn, by
Yeah.
example.
It's a good exercise to take 4 or 5 of your favorite songs and try to figure out, okay, what's the verse, which is the chorus, which is the bridge, and
Mhm.
yeah, be good exercise in learning things. Let's talk about certain the different tools the songwriters use, different parts of the song,
Yeah.
like intro and outro. Nate, you want to why don't we start with the intro? What is an
Yeah.
intro?
So again, intro and outro usually are instrumental. Sometimes it's the same chord progression as the verse or whatever section of the song you're going to
Yeah.
jump into. It doesn't have to be. It usually establishes the rhythm and the groove and like the chord progression of the song. And a lot of times, like, especially if it's instrumental, you're going to have um, some kind of melody over top of it. Not
Right.
necessarily singing. It might be like a lead guitar. I'm talking mainly about like modern praise and worship songs. You'll
Right.
often hear this in church, or on the radio if you're listening to them. The song will start out. You might have 4 bars, maybe 8 bars of music, usually the chord progression once or twice,
Yeah.
and there might be a lead guitar that is playing a riff over top of it.
Hmm.
It just sort of helps to introduce the song before the song proper starts before the singing
For that,
or
yeah.
the words, lyrics start. Yeah.
And in as opposed to hymns, where traditional hymns, uh, the intro is very often the last line of
Mhm.
the chorus or the last
Yes.
line of the song.
Yeah, that's
Great is,
true.
let's go back to Great is Thy Faithfulness. The intro would be that last line, da 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 da,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you start singing. So that is something
Mhm.
to lead you into the song, whether it's part of the beginning or part of the ending of the song.
Right.
And then many songs start. Let's move past the intro. Uh, Many songs will typically start. I say I'm gonna say 75% of songs will, after the intro, go into the first verse.
Hmm.
But some will go into the chorus. They'll jump right into the chorus. Yeah.
Yeah, we've actually seen an uptick in this, an upcharge or whatever you want to call it. Uptick, I guess, is the best word.
Yeah.
Um, we're, because of the way that music, the landscape of music has changed recently, with everything moving to streaming platforms,
Yeah.
and people having the ability to just like click past your song if they're not caught, if they're not hooked by it within the
Yeah.
first few seconds,
Yeah.
they'll just swipe to the next thing. There's actually a lot of people now that are starting with the chorus
Yeah.
because they want to grab that person's attention right away,
And a short
um,
intro, right?
or a very short
And a
intro
short intro,
again
and then jumping into the
with a hook over
yeah.
top of the
Yeah.
intro. um, Anything they can do to grab the person's attention in the first few seconds, because unfortunately that's the
Yeah.
nature of the beast right now, that people have the ability to just move on to the next thing if you
Yeah.
don't capture them right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so other we won't, I guess we won't elaborate on every single part of the songs
Yeah.
sections here, but intro, outro, um, we'll get to the outro in just a second, but and we've talked about verses, we've talked about choruses and the bridge.
Hmm.
Let's talk about tags. Now it
Yeah.
was typical uh, hymns, for example. I keep going back to them, but just they keep popping into my mind.
Right.
And with hymns, there usually is no tag. Now, a tag would be typically repeating that last line,
Hmm.
repeating that last phrase, that last maybe one line or two lines, and before the song is actually ended.
Right.
Usually sung repeating the last line. That would be a tag. It could be melodic though, just instrumentally repeating that last line of the song.
Hmm.
Um, in hymns, we don't see that. They just the last verse, the last chorus, the last verse, and you end it unless somebody's doing it live and wants to
Unless you
add
do
a
the
tag.
amen, right? The traditional
Oh my goodness!
amen.
When I was a kid, every song had an
That was
amen.
always the tag, right?
That was always a tag, always a
Yeah.
tag. So is that now? So talk about more modern work, praise and
Yeah.
worship.
Again, modern praise and worship songs. If you guys are familiar with these, you'll see that same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You'll often tag the last line of usually the chorus.
Yeah.
And sometimes it will be exactly the same. You're just kind of repeating the same line,
Right.
both lyrically and chord structure wise. But sometimes they will put a standalone ending,
Yeah.
and it might just be like two lines of the song, and there might be an alternate chord progression there. So you might
Right.
still be repeating the same lyrics, but they change the chord progression just to give it a little more sense of finality or closure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know why it's actually a no-no music theory wise, but the big thing now, and it has been for years, is to not end on the one chord, to not resolve or to go
Not
back
not
to,
result. Right.
yeah,
Right.
not to go back to the tonal chord, like the key center of your song.
Right.
That's getting a little bit into music theory there, but that's a big thing, to end on the five chord
Yeah.
or even the four chord. So sometimes that's a way to do a tag. Repeat the
Yeah.
last line or two of the chorus or whatever the last section of your song was, and
Mm-hmm.
end with that kind of alternate chord structure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In live music, it's doing a song live. I think it's more you're more apt to more often put a tag on um, than maybe in recorded music. Um,
Yeah, it's
and then
true.
and then there's always, and we can talk about fading songs out when recording fading is, but we won't
It's
get
hard,
into that this time.
it's hard to do that live, but
Yeah, it's hard to do that live. Yeah,
I've done it, but
yeah, yeah, especially for the drummer. All right.
Yeah,
Anyway, so how about, and then we're gonna touch on a couple more thoughts here, friends, and then we're gonna kind of wrap this up. We don't want to get too deep into this, but we are going to continue these thoughts and into the songwriting series. And by the way, if you do need to leave us, please come back, because this will be continuing, and we are going to bring some guests on to talk more into songwriting. So
right.
don't yes, we'll have more for you. But let's talk about before we wrap this up. Let's finally talk about solos,
Yeah.
instrumental or sung. Excuse me. Well, no, solo would be. Yeah, a solo would not be sung. Okay. Well, maybe. No, we won't go there. All right. So let's talk about solo. Nate, you better take it over. I'm digging myself a hole here.
All right. Yeah. So this is another tool in your toolbox, songwriters. One of the ways to break up your song a little bit instead of having it just be, verse, chorus, or verse, chorus, bridge, is to have a section. Again, it can be 4 bars, it could be 8 bars, 32 bars, maybe a little bit long, but there's, a section of instrumental. And again, the chord progression, it could be the verse progression, it could be the chorus progression, or it could be a
Right.
totally different
Or a
progression.
different bridge, or
Yeah,
something different, completely different.
within, yeah, as long as it's within the same key. And this is generally where you have, like Paul said, a solo instrument played over it. It could be a lead guitar, it could be a piano solo, it could be a ensemble of instruments, but it's something to just break the song up, to give it a little bit of like breathing space, and then bring it back in. And maybe I'll let you talk about this one as soon as I'm finished up here, Paul. But this is a good way to lead into one of your favorite techniques, which is doing a key change.
You change, yeah.
But I'll let you say something about that in a second. But I've always learned about the solo section is your solo instrument, whatever it is. I'll just talk about lead guitar here. To me, there's 2 easiest or basic ways to come up with the solo to go in this instrumental section. The solo itself, the melody that the instrument is going to play, you can either base it off of the melody that the vocals had, what they were singing lyrically,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of play around with that, embellish it a little bit, or you can go the other way and base your solo musically off of the chord progression. So
Right.
there's a little bit of wiggle room. You don't have to play, the melody that the vocals were singing,
Mm-hmm.
but you can play with that, or you just make up a melody based off of the chord progression, and that fits as well. Those
Right.
are, I think, the 2 easiest ways to understand how to make a solo
Yeah.
within your song.
Right.
But like I said, I think it's an exciting way to lead into a key change, which is also another way to give your song more interest and to change it a little bit. Do you want to
Absolutely. To build
talk
it.
to that, Paul?
Yeah. And first, yeah. And as you were talking, I think a
Yeah.
couple of things came to mind too. The solo can be in the maybe 2/3 of the way through the song before those final choruses,
Yeah.
and again leading, and then can do a key change, go up a half step or up a full step, and do the chorus one more time. It could be, I think of songs, the solo also could be something that's played the, the same or almost the same, like you said, maybe playing off of the verse or whatever. It could be a musical hook that
Hmm.
is played between each of the verses. I think of Billy Joel's Piano Man, where
Mm.
he played each between after each verse, he da 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 da.
So that's something we didn't talk about, that we
Yeah,
could add that into song structures too. That's sort of
yeah.
a turnaround.
Turnaround, yes,
Yeah.
yes, and that there's really no solo in that song, but that is a little solo that he plays between each of the verses, like you said, as a turnaround. Um, and the chorus also could, in rare cases, in one very popular case, is the Eagles, Hotel California.
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
the solo is at the end. It's just one example. I think "Stairway to Heaven" would be another example.
Yeah.
But that guitar solo at the end of "Hotel California" that takes you to the end of the song. Kind of
It's like
strange way to put it, but it's
extended outro, really.
very extended
Yeah.
outro. Yeah.
But
So
yeah, you brought up a
and
good point there about the turnaround. So
yeah.
that's another structure that you guys might see in the songs that you like, when
Mhm.
there's a little bit of space from between the chorus and the verse, rather than jumping right from the chorus back into the
Right.
verse.
Right back
Sometimes
in.
musically you put, 4 bars, like Paul said, with a little bit of melody there, a little bit of a hook to turn around back to the verse. That's a very useful
Yeah,
structure.
it can be, yes.
Yeah.
And something also to keep in mind, and it's something that I've kind of messed up once in a while, writing a song, recording the song, putting a nice piano or a guitar solo or whatever in that song, and then you go out and sing to your background tracks, and you're up there on the platform, on the stage. What do you do during that solo? So you might want to think about when you're putting a song together,
Air
when it's
guitar.
yeah, when you're recording it, are you going to be up there on the stage, standing there waiting through that solo? Okay, if you want to put a solo in, you might consider either not doing it or making it kind of short. But just so, do you need a solo? What do you think, Nate? Does every song need a solo? How do you determine whether to put one in or not?
um,
Good
Knowledge and
question. Huh?
experience. I mean, time and
Yeah.
experience will tell. Yeah, that's not something, there's no hard and fast rule.
Mm.
Again, it's more about the song. Does the song call for it? That sort of grows out organically. I really don't know how to tell somebody. No, I mean,
I don't
definitely,
either.
for sure,
Yeah.
not every song needs a solo.
Right.
It
There we
definitely
go.
does not. But um, yeah,
Yeah.
you
It's
just
certainly,
learn.
you just learn. Yeah. And uh, my own experience as a songwriter, sometimes there's a solo, sometimes there isn't. How do I decide? I really don't know. But you
Sometimes the
just,
solo makes the song.
that's
Like you
true.
said, like Hotel California. Without
Yeah.
that solo, I don't know. I mean, the
Oh,
song's okay, but that
yeah.
solo makes
Oh
that
my
song.
goodness. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so we've touched on a lot of things here pretty quickly, friends. One thing we didn't cover, and I want to cover, but not this time for the sake
Mm,
of time. But I'm going to leave it. Is we had talked about riffs. We will talk about riffs. We're going to talk about rhythm.
mm.
Um, tempo, fast song, slow
Major
song,
versus minor.
major and minor, the mood of the song.
Mhm.
Something I'd like to touch on is fills and counter melody.
Yeah.
Things that really spice up a song, and we're going to touch on those next time. But I think for this point, I think maybe we'll wrap it up here and just let you guys know that we appreciate you. First of all, appreciate you listening in, viewing in. Now this, if you're watching this as a video, we're also going to use the audio for this, and you may be hearing it as part of our podcast series on the artist impact.
Mm.
So we're gonna get dual duty out of this, what we're doing here.
Right.
But yeah, so Nate, where can they hear us and find us?
Well, for sure, you can find us online at notespiremusic.com. We're on Facebook, Notespire Music. We're also on YouTube. Hopefully, you're watching this video there, Notespire Music TV.
Mm-hmm.
You can always contact us through email at info@notespiremusic.com. Where else? You want to talk about the radio?
Oh, radio station, you will hear
Yeah.
this on WNSM DB Notespire Radio, of course. That thing that's right behind Nate's head. Yeah, you can read that kind of there. There you go. So do tune in. You can find the station at notespireradio.com and also on Live 365 if you're listening on your phone or tablet, or if you want to, just download the Live 365 app and then use that app to search for Notespire Radio. And I think a couple other websites like radio.net is another one you can find us on, and also Streema, Streema, Streema.com is another one. So you will find us. And if all else fails, friends, we picked the word Notespire because there isn't a lot of Notespire stuff out on the internet. So if you just search for that word Notespire, you're gonna find us.
Find us. Yep.
Yeah. So So, friends, thank you so much. Are we forgetting anything? I think that's gonna.
I
I
think
think
that's it.
that
Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm
yeah,
sorry this has been so long coming. We've been so busy, but we do want to keep getting this content out for you.
yeah,
Be sure to send us suggestions or comments if you
yeah,
want us to talk about certain things or share your own experience. You know, this is a huge community of
yeah,
artists and musicians out there, and we would love to
yeah.
hear from you guys.
Especially right now, friends. We need to stick together, and I think and we're going to touch on this in another podcast, another video, or both. That I think we need to be using our gifts, friends. We need to be doing, especially now. We have the opportunity. We have the platforms. We have the online ability to do this. So let's do it. And all I'll say more on that is if we can help you to do it, get in touch with us. That's what we're here for. All
Yeah.
right.
All right.
So until next time, friends, please do take care of yourselves.
And take care of each other.
All right. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.